The density, it's so dense, okay? It's too dense.
We'll call us back to order. We do have a motion on the table. The motion is to adopt this map, with the exception or amendment of the map of adding the fourth corridor, which would be, called the at-risk.
Overdevelopment risk zone.
Overdevelopment risk zone, that's it. We had detailed discussions. Is there any other discussion on that motion?
To be clear, and I believe Mr. Sanders just asked this, we're voting on the map. We have not yet agreed on what the zones mean, or are we voting on the map with the definitions that were provided?
We're currently voting to adopt the map with the idea of the breakdown of the zones, adding the fourth zone. So it would be this map. It's not it is not the page 2 of the map that breaks it all down and lays it all out. It just says we like the idea of breaking the county in these zones with the fourth zone that you can't see.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Stanton.
I'm actually not going to vote on this. The reason I'm not is because the way this is structured, that zone that you see there that's in the deep blue is there for one reason, very high density. There would be no other reason for it. That's what it's for. Now, I'm not going to support anything that raises density anywhere in the county. Adding another zone is just not going to change.
Any other discussions?
Just a point of clarity, adding the zone does not increase density whatsoever, it actually decreases.
Why do you have that zone there?
It's
around the road.
We started with 5, we went down to 3, and now I wanted to add this 4th one so that we could add this level of protection for those different areas. So it actually decreases the density in those certain areas. So your argument that it increases the density somewhere else in the county is not true.
You have that zone, hold on, which I'll call it now. That's extremely, the reason it's there for one reason only, it's much higher density. Now you're saying we're going to make it a little less worse, we're going to lower that density. I'll grant you that. But it's there for one reason. I mean, the numbers here. They're skyrocketing.
Yeah. So the more restriction we put in place, the better opportunity we have to control growth, not to increase density.
Councilman Wallace.
What we're asking to vote on is to change the map.
No, we haven't even got into this part, right?
That's correct.
Density number.
That's
correct.
Yeah, but my point is the map structure just implies it's going to be very high density. There'd be no reason for it. You'd have 2 zones.
So for more clarity, the phrase very high is one that could be misconstrued into being anything. Just I think it differentiates the levels of density is the best definition to use. Other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed?
Yeah, I did have a motion that I wanted to make. I really like the idea of doing the half acre as the minimum lot size across the board, regardless of the open space. Whether it's whatever the corridors that they're being called, regardless of the sewer. So my motion is for in each of those zones to be half acre.
So I have a motion on the table to make each zone minimum lot size a half acre. I have a second.
I'll second that.
I have a second. Discussion.
Sure.
I just want 1 second.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Your motion seems very vague because that zone also allows townhomes and duplexes and multifamily and mixed use and all sorts of things that don't require a half acre. So you just making a zone that everything's half acre just took out a whole bunch of development complexities that they put in.
I'm talking, those are things that we can have conversations about.
Right.
But right now, when we're talking about open space subdivision, we're talking about townhome and all that stuff.
Okay,
I'm talking about an open space subdivision across the board because we're going from 20% to 40%. that it's a half acre, and then we can add in or not add in whatever complexities you want to add in for the townhome duplex. That's
Y'all remind me now, didn't y'all just tell us a second ago that for the big dental area, the smallest lot size would be half acre?
Yeah.
Regardless of sewer?
yeah. He said no. I thought it was an
Yeah.
The large area in the middle is half.
It's half acre.
It's already half acre. So you're trying to change the dark blue to be half acre as well?
I'm saying that anywhere that we do development should start with the half acre, and then we can add these other pieces in as you guys want to vote on.
So, for point of clarification, I am just asking, and I understand you're going half acre cross board in the county. Is that for open space subdivisions as well?
Well, yeah, whatever the minimum size I have.
The minimum size for water and sewer right now is 5,000.
Which is a half.
That's about 8 houses per acre.
Right.
So you're liking that. Okay. Can we just review what your proposal is and what he's changing?
I want to go down to a half acre.
Okay, I think that's a great idea. I'm just saying. When you look at the gateway corridor right now, your proposal is 20% open space. We're talking water and sewer, public water and sewer.
That's not what the motion is yet.
I know.
No, it's just on the minimum lot size, and
Is
then
it
we can
seconded
add in
yet?
what we need to.
Yes, we're in the
Okay, so we're in the, okay. So I just want to understand what we're voting. So the gateway corridor right now, the way it's proposed, not in here, but just a little piece of paper, is 20% open space, 5,000 square feet minimum. Public water, public sewer.
He's saying half acre.
Okay, he's saying that, right. Okay, and what he's saying in the rural area, it's 40%. You got rid of the 5,000, that became half acre automatically.
That's right.
Okay. Now, in the Highway 11 area, it doesn't apply because it's massive subdivisions.
That's right.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear.
I feel like the density we're trying to gain allow so that majority of the county can stay 40% half acre. You have to allow for some of it to be denser than that, the 20% and 5,000 square feet, similar to a Patrick Square in Clemson, can be allowable. So I don't, again, I can see maybe in this new zone that you're proposing, trying to stick to the half acre, but I don't understand why you're coming at what I thought you'd agreed upon, which was that in the Gateway Corridor, we're allowing for a nicely planned development that can still have denser space.
It was the same argument I just made. Why would you have that special corridor if it's not gonna be real dense? Trust me, I love that. I would just wipe that corridor out completely and just have half acre all over. But that corridor is there for a reason.
Yes. And you don't like the reason.
And I don't like the reason you
So
like
we recognize that there was a reason, which was that you
Yeah,
have to
now you're
fix
just
it.
kind of ignoring it.
Yeah.
They're ignoring it.
So let's talk about
Why
the
don't
lot,
you
the
deal with it?
lot size thing. At some point, I hope that we'll get off page 2. And when we get off page 2, we'll be talking about offsets. And so some of the folks have made some pretty compelling arguments about not having somebody's driveway also include the sidewalk and 3 feet of road. So if we kick the offsets back 60 feet, and then we require folks to be a good 20 feet, between obstructions, so that they're going to put their air conditioner, they should put it in a place where it's not going to keep them out 20 feet so we get vehicles in, firefighting, EMS, those kind of things. If we're going to do that, then if the 5,000 is the low, it's probably going to be very difficult to find a place where you can put 5,000 square foot patio homes. So the provisions, you're just setting half acre, right, for whatever purpose, but we have all of these other things that are going to probably make it that the 5,000 is not even tenable in most places, right? So that was the argument that Ms. Linville was making is I think the discussion that you guys thought we were having all along, which was how do we kind of look ahead at the next 10 years and see where density probably going to come, whether or not we participate or not. Because I have no faith at all the legislature is going to take away carte blanche authority to annex by municipalities anytime in my political lifetime. So y'all are basically saying this is kind of where it would go. So if we're talking about having the Public Service Commission have a discussion about making a proposal for where to put sewer, then they would know, well, probably gonna be right through here is the principal place to do it. If somebody's gonna be talking about long-term road planning, and coming back with a comprehensive plan, probably gonna be looking at places through there where they would, the majority of that, they would anchor that kind of a road growth. So I think it's a long-term leadership communication tool, right? But when we do setbacks, it's going to grievously limit your ability to put anything on 5,800 square foot lots.
I hear you loud and clear, and I don't disagree, and actually have been there the whole time. But just like saying that you've got to upgrade a road or there has to be sewer capacity, unfortunately, that's missed, and the misinformation that gets spun up blocks out the common sense of if you can't do it, you can't do it. And that's where setbacks really come to play. So I can go out there and say that everywhere that's dark blue is going to get an eighth of an acre, and we're going to put as much as we can on an eighth of an acre. And I guarantee when we leave here tonight, that's what everybody will believe. But the reality of that is, there's very few places, to your point, that you can do that. But that'll be missed. And that's my biggest fear. And that will shut this down and leave us with absolutely nothing at the end of this year-long, 18-month-long process that we've been on. So I do think that your point is valid. Now, the motion on the table is to limit everything to a half acre. I don't think that's in reality the best option either. I just don't, because then why are we wasting our time on any of this? Why do we have a Highway 11 corridor? Why do we have anything? Why don't we just say half acre across the county's minimum lot size? Everything else, open space should have 40%. If it's bigger than XYZ, then it's got to be a master plan subdivision, and just call the meeting adjourned and be done with it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you said we're not going to be able to make policies against politicians' line and get on their soapbox to bullshit people. I mean, that's the reality of it, right? So what we can do, though, is kind of point out to folks the practicality of it. Even if it is 5,000, it's probably going to happen. I mean, a quarter of an acre, it's going to be difficult to do if you have a 60-foot setback and then 20 on both sides and you have any size of house, right? So I don't care if it's a quarter or whatever. Again, there's only a tiny space here that's going to affect me. So I'm agnostic with respect to it. But I would say, I do know that there is a growing market of opportunity, not just for people that are working at Clemson, for these little patio homes because they don't want to keep up grass and whatnot, right? So respecting what mine's selling, and being a market friendly person. If you guys want to do quarter or half, it's up to y'all. The setbacks are going to get most of it anyway, but you're right. Somebody's going to start lying as soon as they get to the area.
I'm just basing my feelings on what people are telling me. They don't want this really dense, packed on top of each other, and I hear that. I ran on that, and that's half acres the way we can curb it, then I'm for it.
You mean even in the dark blue?
Even in the dark blue, absolutely.
So the question that I was asked when I told somebody I thought that would be the direction that the council would go towards was because they don't want it, they don't want to limit it, they're going to limit other folks' access to it if the market tries to provide it to them. And so, I mean, just the other night, we were at the council meeting, the one guy in the room that seemed like he's about to lose it was just saying over and over, well, no, that's that he didn't want to have it or whatever, but he kind of, for him, it's not his choice. But I mean, I think that demographically speaking, there's a whole lot of folks that are coming behind us that don't want to take care of yards. I mean, they didn't think about the resources that go into it, or whatever. I guess I respect. I don't want that. I mean, I like having to do my trim cutting with 20 horsepower motor. It's not my lifestyle. Right?
I'm hearing from people that live here now, not the people that are moving in here. People that lived here for a long time, and they're like, what the heck?
But they already have a house.
I
They
live-
already have a house.
I live on a
respect
third of
that.
an acre.
Yeah, I get that, but
It's
Building.
a really nice neighborhood.
building on top of building on top of building is not good for the county either. I mean,
I hope you understand. I'm not arguing for it. I'm just telling you that if there's a reason why these things sell to folks, because there's demand. Some folks can't afford anything else, right? We've taken care of some of that. But if there's a market for it, right, because it's not your preference to live in that type of home. Most of the folks I'm talking to that you're probably talking to are in their 50s. They own the home they hope to die in. So it's not even a question for them. whether or not they would buy it or live in it. You know, and some of the people have to make those choices because of economics, and a lot of folks just don't want to take care of it, particularly retirees. How do we balance that out by just saying, no, I don't understand that? We got, you know, maybe it's a quarter of an acre, half an acre, whatever. You guys got to decide because it's going to significantly affect you guys. And I'm okay with it because I'm going to vote, you know, I'm most likely going to vote for what we all agree on. I may not like every piece of it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't affect my area as much.
So when I get into thinking about the half acre, and I'm said to Ms. Linville, we're not talking about townhomes or duplexes or what, I'm talking about the single family homes across the board. What does this need to look like? If we need to look at, and I think these are way too, that we've increased this substantially here too with the duplex density and all that stuff. But to me, those are two different things in defining the what is this going to look like. I mean, at the end of the day, the people that I've talked to, they just don't want to go by and see houses running right up next to each other. Are they okay with seeing townhomes? Yeah, but not, 1,000 of them. Are they okay with apartments? Yeah, but not necessarily. That's really when you're talking about getting into the city limits. I'm just talking about within the unincorporated areas of Pickens County as it exists right now. This is what I think should be with a half acre.
And if they do a petty home development, they're going to have, in most areas, they're going to have either a 40 or 20% open space barrier around it, right? So you're probably going to not be driving around and seeing it because of the intention that these folks have of asking for that big space to be undeveloped and untouched, is to have a barrier so you're not seeing it. But again, back to the other question.
Okay, so
Can people buy these homes? Will they have access to it? And do we want the sprawl? Because if you limit those types of access, it's going to push into people saying, well, I'm just going to buy a place out here in the county with my own acre and not have to pay for this, this, and this, and this. And you're going to have driveways everywhere. I think that's the argument is that not the argument y'all would make? It is. So if we squeeze so much over here and don't set aside some place where there's resources, unless people are going to buy an acre from Joe Biden and just build one house at a time, and that is not going to achieve what you guys hope to. It's going to be worse. And think about Greer. Greer used their farmland at 5 times the rate of population growth, was the number that sticks to me. And then what they got? I mean, they got a giant subdivision. I mean, it's honestly like I was thinking of Hellhole. Is that what we're looking for? I mean, sorry, Greer.
I disagree with that. What happens is when you allow houses to be so close together, you're inviting in national developers and they market to the whole country. Now, when somebody's building a one-off house, he's not marketing to the whole country. That's the difference. This will substantially lower growth because the big developers will not be there marketing this place to the whole country. And they probably won't build these houses because they won't make money on them. So that's a major significant change, Mr. Costin, which you proposed here. I just want to review some of the rural area and the new corridor, which is called what? What's the fourth corridor called?
The overdevelopment risk zone.
The risk zone and then the gateway area. Regardless of water and sewer, a single-family home lot size minimum is 1/2 acre. Is that right? Did I get that right?
That's the motion on the table.
Okay.
So I do think it's worth pointing out. I do know I've been a little cynical at moments this evening, but the reason for the map, the reason we discussed the map, the reason for the density is I truly believe if you say it's got to be a 1/2 acre, I told you this was a 20-year annexation map. It'll actually become a 10-year annexation map because you're right. The national home builders want to move in and they market to be able to do. And as long as the municipalities have the power to allow them to, they're going to. So it's coming. Whether Alex, you can say all you want, but they've proven it. It's here. That's the reason we're having the discussion. And unless we can figure a way to curb the annexation, which was the intention of the map, Ms. Valley, your team has done a great job. I know you're about to tell a lot of scrutiny tonight, but it captured everything we've talked about, and y'all have done a wonderful job. I know that we've picked on it hard. But that was the purpose of it when we began discussing it, is how, if we can't stop annexation, how do we entice people not to annex? And I understand and I get that, and that is, I think that's what this map is. I truly do believe it's an annexation map unless you can stop annexation.
Chris, can we ask this guy's question? Come on. The Wild
Let me
Lake.
get up my
No, I understand, because it's your soapbox. The Wild Lake development, there's an area up there near Wild Lake. It's 49 houses, I believe.
20 houses.
20 houses. But when they were telling me they were gonna do like 50.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole purpose of that, right, was because they didn't want to do what we're talking about here. They got individual lots, and they got individual driveways, and it's not subject to what we're talking about. That's just like when we talk about Highway 11, the thing that scared me on Highway 11 was one driveway after another. And what we started at, we're gonna require these guys to have 5 acres or something like that, right? And that just fell apart at checking property rights. I think just driveway after driveway is going to be the option to not being able to buy. And then when you talk about the national housing guys, they have their own wood factory, they have their own engineered wood factory, they have their own steel set up, right? They have all these things set up to pipeline it. Those 20 houses are going to be built by one of the bigger developers, right? That's 20 houses. That's not a local guy. Whoever's behind it, think those lots. That's a big developer, I believe. Is it Ryan Homes?
No,
It's not.
It's not that big. I think it's regional, but not local.
It's a regional, so it's somebody that builds 3,000 houses a year versus 30.
right.
That's still not Joe in my neighborhood. And those guys specifically were doing that neighborhood because they knew that they would have a difficult time doing the bigger neighborhood. So this is what we're kind of arguing. I'm not arguing for it because again, it's going to be odd mix just because y'all's here. I'm just telling you, when you squeeze on the side of the balloon, the other side of the balloon is going to get bigger.
And I just wanted to remind the bigger purpose of the map was, it all started with how do you stop annexation? Because I think I've heard loud and clear from a lot of my area that stop annexation, we don't want the annexation because annexation means more. Now, Councilman Statham made a point 2 months ago, I remember it very clear. What we had proposed and what the city of Easley allowed, we actually would allow more than the city of Easley would, by a little bit, right? If you did the rough math on it, not including setbacks, not including all the things, just sheer numbers, it looked like we would allow more than the city. Now, I do believe setbacks and those kinds of things would offset that. But that was the purpose, is to keep the city from being able to annex and continue to sprawl out or grow out and make the growth even worse than it already is. And I do think when you talk about making it a half acre only, you threw that out the window, the attempt to stop the annexation. That's my only concern with it. I mean, we fought with the city of Liberty on annexation 2 weeks ago. You know, it's everywhere. It's not just Easley, it's not just Clemson, it's literally everywhere. In fact, don't we have property where Central and Clemson are fighting over who gets to annex? That was about
In
2
a manner
years
of
ago.
speaking, there's also a road involved in that. There's
But seriously, I mean, we have municipalities fighting over who gets to annex what, right? And that's the goal, was to slow down or stop the annexation.
I also have a goal of making sure we can have homeowners in the county, a variety of different people. Your half acre or larger lots with 40% subdivision, which is the majority of the data, your homes are going to be 400 grand and above. To be big, beautiful, to have 40% open space, which we're talking about, that means the developer is buying a ton of land they cannot make a profit from on that section. That means they have to charge more for really nice homes. I understand that people are saying that's who they want as their neighbor. We all want wealthy neighbors and beautiful homes. I get that. But that means you are shutting out so many people and what they can afford. And we need a variety of people living in this county, and we have a variety of people living in this county. If you keep demanding that all the land be these big lots that are bigger than my home in a dual income professor family that I think is a pretty nice house, but is priced out from what a lot of people in my county, in my city earn, you have priced out people from living in this county. We need a variety of price points. And if y'all don't want those people as your neighbors in the whole Denham part, then you need to give them some place to live. And if you cut that out too, then you have just killed it's not even affordable. It's barely even attainable part of the housing shortage that we have in this county right now. I ask you to compassionately allow for some developments where there will hopefully be public transportation at some point, where there is access to services, and people can become homeowners or downsize. It's part of the market that needs to grow the most right now.
Question.
So listen, I agree. You're operating in a world of either black or white, and it's either yes or no. And it's either it's half acre or if you do half acre, then the world's coming to an end. There's all kinds of different ways you can help incentivize attainable housing. There's all kinds of different things that we can do in talking about within each of these subdivisions. That's why I was saying, let's have those conversations about the duplexes or the multifamily or the townhouses. All I'm talking about right now is on an open space subdivision. This is my place that I want to start with it being a half acre. If you want to add something in as a part of that, unless we're talking about townhomes, and townhome density will be this, whatever that is. But the people that I've talked to within my district are saying, we don't want anything other than half acre. And I've got to represent them. So that's what I have to do.
Any other discussion?
So, if you don't mind, 400, who's the realty guy in the back there? On the hot spot there. No noise with the camera there, so you keep right there. Half acre lot, standard house. Is this issue right? 400,000?
I think that's about 50% low.
So you're thinking 500, 600,000 on the house. Okay, I've got 3 bachelor's degrees and master's and PhD, 3 degrees in engineering, and we're a single family household. I think Kent's rich, right? And so if you look at buying a $400,000 house, my kids would have to be going to, everybody's going to use a car. I have a very strong, difficult time, and I know that when I was in the corporate world, I made 2.5, maybe 3 times as much as the average family in our community, and I would have a difficult time buying that home. So you're telling me you don't want to live next door to me too?
I'm saying that there's other ways.
But here's Mr. Hayden talks about the money. The folks that if we do this to own a home, you're going to spend 400, 600 grand. And the thing is, the reality of it is, we have half our community makes less than $50,000 a year as a household. So when it comes down to it, right? The voters and everything else, they have to clearly understand when you put this on video. You are telling folks that teach in our schools or police our streets or firefighters that they're never going to own a home. And that's the key piece. You can own that part, right? And Mr. Sam argues that by having smaller houses, you're going to have immigrants and whatnot move here, drug dealers, and all the people are going to live in those neighborhoods. But that's just so off the wall and it's almost laughable. But what is true is the economic side. If it's going to be a $600,000 house, you're going to have a middle-class bedroom community for Greenville. That's it. And everybody else is going to have to live on Iowa. You're talking about public transportation. Anybody that makes a working man's income in our county is going to have to live somewhere else. Or in an RV, which is what you said you don't want. You look making that face, man, but $600,000. Divide $600,000 by 50,000. It doesn't come out. Most folks in our community are never going to buy a home. So you're taking the ratio of never buying a home from 50 to 75%, 80%. That's it. That's what this will do. And I'm not saying I'm against it because y'all have to make the area for y'all's space, right? My area is not necessarily as directly impacted, so right around Eastland, which is a place I know they're going to annex. So I'm not losing anything over 10 years. Y'all have to make that decision. Do you want to knock folks out? She's not wrong. She's probably low on her number.
Let me respond to that. So you're saying somebody's not going to buy 10 acres, cut in the roads, put in 20 lots, and sell that? Then that person that buys that lot's got to put up a $600,000 home?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm just asking.
No, you just said never. Let's say like a David North. He would go in and buy 10 acres. In this case, he would put 20 lots in, cut in the roads, curb and gutter. Right. He wouldn't build the houses. He'd sell the lots.
And how much do you think the house would be?
You can build whatever house you want. have to build a $600,000 home. You can build in your case, you can build a tiny home. I mean, those houses aren't gonna have to be
If it's
600,000.
20, we just said it had to be an open space subdivision, so it's already not developing on either 20 or 40%, depending on what
Whatever,
it's in.
whatever it is, but he doesn't build the house. If somebody comes in and cuts in the lots, puts in the roads and sells the lots, then you can build whatever house you want. You're not required to build a $600,000 home. Maybe D.R. Horton comes in and builds 1,000 homes, that may be the case. But the way we built homes in this county a while ago was you didn't have people coming in and building homes for you. A developer came in, cleared the land, cut the lots up, sold the lots.
But now we're saying that would be an open space subdivision.
Yeah.
So we changed that.
And then so what happens is
Reverse approach.
so then a person just builds a house any size he wants. He's not required to build a $600,000. He's talking about the nurse, the teacher.
I think that you missed the point of what she's been arguing, Alex, is that
No, but you're
by
saying
aggregating the higher density, like patio homes in one space, you're not gonna provide that, and you can do what you just said, but you're going to quadruple or even double the area that they're going to be built on. So if we don't want sprawl, give those folks a place to buy. And if you also want to provide people like a potential to do it, give them a place that they can generally afford. But to build, to build on your own, to build the driveways, $250 a foot for a driveway, they're still going to be $300,000, Alex. These guys are talking about something, patio homes. I don't know what they cost, but I think they cost a lot less than an individual home in a neighborhood with an HOA requirement.
Yeah, but I guess the point I'm disputing.
All the David Gordon's developments were built huge houses that are all probably averaging $400,000, $500,000.
I'm disputing the idea that they'll never own a home. It's just ridiculous because they don't have to necessarily buy a home from a big developer. They could just buy a lot that somebody just developed the land.
Do you have any idea what $50,000
So
is to buy?
Vice Chair.
The other thing, Dr. Wilson, you're right on your math, except the homes today are way more expensive than they were 5 years ago. I mean, a manufactured house is gonna cost $300,000. If the average household income is $53,000, household income, they're not gonna be able to afford the $300,000 house. They're not gonna be able to afford the $200,000 house, but maybe just barely. So, when we started this whole thing, it is nothing against any of these. I don't want to name the guys that are building the houses, but these guys that are coming in and clear cutting and just throwing up house after house after house, selling them cheap when they're not lasting is what we want to stop. So your point about it's god awful expensive for a teacher or my wife's a teacher, my daughter's a teacher. She can't afford to build a house now, but she can't afford to build the house even just on the piece of property that we have because it's too dang expensive. It's more than that. If it's $200,000, she can't afford it. So forget the 600 or the 800. I'm not even talking about that. I'm saying there are other incentives we can provide that we haven't even talked about yet. So I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm also saying there's other things that we consider. Maybe you can't afford a house. Maybe you can afford your first townhome. Okay, let's talk about what those look like. But for right now, with what we're talking about just in general, start with a half acre. And then add these other pieces in.
Other discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed?
I vote for it. I'll vote for it.
For the half acre?
You can't, man, I'm gonna take it as an extension. I'm just kidding. I'm giving you all the time. All right, so the map with the modification that the smallest lot size is at a half acre is what we just voted on.
Mr. Chairman, just so we're clear, that's single family residential.
Yes.
Or only open space subdivision.
Anything. If you wanna build on the map, that was the motion.
So does that mean now to allow townhouses, RVs as residential, tiny homes, all those other things, we now need to vote on those all individually on their lot size?
Make a motion.
If you wanna make a motion to do so, if not, they all still half acre.
Okay. I I make a motion to allow a townhome density of 20 dwellings per acre in the Gateway corridor per staff recommendation.
So I have a motion on the table to allow 20 townhomes per acre in the Gateway corridor per staff recommendation. Do I have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
All right, second by Vice Chairman. Discussion.
How many were there before? Four.
For townhomes in the previous UDSO?
Yeah.
No, there was, they were not.
There were none.
I didn't think so. So this would be a new topic all the way around. Any discussion about 20 townhomes per acre?
Mr. Chairman, let me double check that. Townhomes, this is from the old DSO, 314B. Density of a townhome development shall not exceed 2 units per acre when served by individual on-site septic, 4 units per acre when served by public septic. So, no, it's 2 and 4, right? So, this is the old DSO, that was the question, right? Current DSO. When you have public water and sewer, it's 4 units per acre.
So you have public water and sewer, you could go.
That's 314B. It's 4 now.
I'm going off of the staff.
Staff recommendation. So I'm curious how we go from 4 or a quarter acre to 20 within an acre. You know, what does that even look like?
The drawings of it on this?
You got it?
Somewhere in that drawing of townhomes.
This is all new. Yeah, this is all new.
So the original 314 is down here below.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, it's been crossed out, it is in red.
It's just had very minimal.
So the question he asked was, how do we get from 4 to 20? What's the planning rationale for that? Is his question.
The planning rationale was to encourage higher density, so that therefore we'd have a higher tax revenue coming to support the Gateway corridor to offset the less revenue that we would get from increasing the open space subdivisions in the rural county by half acre, 40% open
So we
space.
talked to the planner about that. I appreciate you saying they're going to look at what's sustainable, what's affordable over time. So they're going to look at that. Services, the balance, I think y'all got an article about it. The balance of service costs versus density and how that works. But
I mean, that's a huge chunk.
yeah, but it's a larger question when you go from 4 to 20. When you know that you're doubling and tripling and quadrupling the open space requirements somewhere else. And so it's, from a planning standpoint, you're looking at sustainability of the community. But as a policymaker, y'all are also looking at the previous debate.
Probably 2 to 3 years ago, we'd seen townhomes come through as a proposed development once or twice, and we've seen them rapidly increasing as well as an option.
So Ms. Lumble, just for the sake of discussion, I really think 20 on an acre of land is a ton of townhomes in comparison.
I will say, it came with, I can't find the drawings, there was a drawing somewhere, but it came with all those other proposals that they have elsewhere in the ordinance, so I'd like to, I guess I'm trying to pass those together, because the other proposals talked about right-of-way and how often you needed to have a driveway and offsets around them. They had an entire townhome ordinance, so that 20 per acre went with that design requirement. So again, it's not, this was not, I don't understand the order that we're voting on things, because we went through a map, and then we changed the map, and there's now other things.
Yeah.
And now we're not, townhomes was an entire other section of the UDSO that is several pages long.
Yeah.
But I was just told to even consider them now, we'd have to go back and put them in the map.
Yep.
So I don't know how to make a motion appropriately, to say 20
No, I
per acre, along with all the suggestions that have on how.
So I'm not there with you. That's the reason why I'm making it clear. We very much got derailed tonight. 100% got derailed tonight. Don't disagree with that at all. Got totally off track, got off course, and counterproductive numerous times. So I just want to make sure I'm not there with you. I agree. It's kind of like what Dr. Wilson said a few minutes ago. You can say that you can build on a quarter acre, but if you can't match the setbacks, you can't actually build on a quarter acre. It's like I said about this map. You can say that you can build 20% on whatever of an acre, but if the infrastructure's not there and you can't update the road, you can't actually do it. But we had to go to the level of clarifying all those things, so that's why we are where we are, unfortunately.
Okay, but by passing the,
Oh, you're right.
by passing the new thing y'all just passed on the half acre, then there's like 5 bullet points here that would do townhomes, duplexes, multi-family, and mixed use, but those, I don't feel like we should just say that we should vote all those in, because they also all go with 2 to 3 pages of description elsewhere in the ED zones that we added. So,
Yeah.
none of this wasn't supposed to work in a void. It was supposed to be a joint thing with a few edits. So now we separated it, and I don't know how to, I welcome advice on how to get through this.
If you look at what they sent us just a couple days ago, 314B gives you all your details on townhomes, duplexes. That's the detail.
Right. So, but to also, do I need to then ask to pass all the amendments to 314B and also a townhome density of 20 dwellings per acre in the gateway corridor?
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to do. I mean, because this density here is actually 8 homes per acre when served by public systems. So you would just change that 8 to 20. The problem is in this ordinance, you got 40% open space.
Right.
The ordinance and the UDSO changes is for the majority of the county, so that's Denham area. That's what that was intended to do. So all of those standards would still apply, plus the additional things listed.
But what was the minimum lot size on that ordinance that applied to the majority of the county? It probably wasn't a half acre, but we just voted that everything has to be a half acre, so we have to change that.
For the middle portion of the county, it was half
For each
for
townhouse?
single family.
Period. Yeah.
Well, for a townhouse, density of townhome development shall not exceed 2 units per acre when served by individual on-site septic, and 8 units when served by a public system.
2 units per acre, so that was a half acre. That was the old, it kind of matched.
Okay, so let me say, so in second reading, 314B was passed. Okay, that applies countywide. Now, what she wants to do is just change the gateway corridor. Okay, so whatever she doesn't change is still going to apply elsewhere.
That's right. The motion on the table only affects the gateway corridor.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate that. Yeah. So I can say that what we did in second reading, I'm not trying to change any of that. We don't need to talk about that again. We can assume that's all still on the table and just make this adjustment only for the gateway corridor. Okay, thank you.
What adjustments are you making? You're going to have 20% and 20 homes per acre, or you're going to just have 0 open space? What is it? Or is it as they propose? They propose.
Their proposal is a townhome density of 20 dwellings per acre in the gateway.
Okay, but with 20% open space?
For townhomes?
Yeah, because that's what their proposal was.
No, there's no open space on the proposal for tonight.
It's 40%. Well, in the gateway.
No, in the gateway, it's 20% open space.
But as it's written now, it's 40%.
Oh, yeah.
314B.
But does open space apply to townhomes?
Yeah. That's what's,
And the proposed UDSO change, yes, 40%.
So I'm on the bullets under gateway of tonight. It just says, quote, allow a townhome density of 20 dwellings per acre, period.
Right.
So
It doesn't say 40%.
So for clarification, 314B requirements, recreation amenities, every townhome development must contain open space equal to 40% of the total acreage of the property with the parcel set aside as a separate parcel of land dedicated as open space I can't say that word. Forever.
Okay, so I amend my motion that in the Gateway corridor, we allow a townhome density of 20 dwellings per acre with 20% open space.
Okay,
So I have a motion to amend to allow for 20 homes per acre and decrease it to 20% open space in the
Gateway corridor.
Gateway corridor. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
So I have a second by Vice Chairman. Councilman Sayre.
okay, so are you gonna include all these lines here? I'm talking, are you gonna leave everything in the existing proposed DSO, however, add the change to the following items in the site? Require traffic studies that be completed, roadway modifications, agreed.
Yeah.
Emergency service and school district approval, I would imagine that would be, right?
Right, that's what I thought we clarified, is that everything of this is already past second reading, stays the same, with the exception of.
But they added a whole bunch of stuff tonight too.
But everything in blue,
For the gateway.
for clarity, everything in blue, we've already discussed and went through second reading.
That's right.
So the councilman said is referring to the one pager here, but your motion only addresses decreasing it to 20%, allowing 20 townhomes per dwelling in the Gateway corridor. Now, if you want to add everything else that's on the one pager for the Gateway corridor, we can. If not, everything in blue already sits. But your amendment or your motion on the table is to 20 townhomes per acre, decreasing from 40% open space to 20% open space in the Gateway corridor only for townhomes. Is that the way you understand it?
That's the way I understand it. But the reason I also understand is that I need to do this bullet by bullet because of the half acre thing that just got passed.
Oh, I get that.
No, I'm just making sure, because I would love to group this all together and be like, let's take all the staff recommendations for the Gateway corridor and just.
Nope, I just want to make sure that's all we want for the townhome.
Yes.
Other discussion?
I'm just curious here, because the blue dimensional requirements, front setbacks, 25 feet, 15 feet setback if you're using rear parking. That's a setback from what? What is that setback from?
Should be property line.
Yeah.
Setback, yes.
Okay, so it's a setback from the property line for the area around the townhouse. How does parking play into that? I don't understand how the parking plays into it. Because they're gonna park.
It's the structure of the setback, not the parking. So the parking could be in that 15.
Yeah, you have to come up with a separate rule for parking if you wanted to driveway at one rear length or whatever. That's just the building.
Some of the folks were asking for domiciles in general to have larger setbacks. So if we vote to approve this, whatever it is, this is not going to be revisited, or would not be revisited, the setbacks here. I don't quite know how to explain that to folks.
That's a building setback. So if there was a compromise that was available for you to say, okay, I can vote for this, but you got to set back, you got to give me a driveway that's 50 feet long or something. That's not in this proposal right now.
So how's the parking to be covered?
Had to three truck car park the bumper, huh? What they're saying.
Yeah, they want to use. Yeah, I mean, I said.
Yeah.
So 60 feet.
Yeah. So they driveway is. That'd have to be added. It's not in the existing one.
So, I mean, I'm kind of getting lost in how all these things kind of play together.
Yes.
So Dr. Wilson, on the setbacks as it's written, it says a front setback of 25 feet, okay? What that means is you, from the edge of your property line in front of the townhome, 25 feet before you can, that's where the edge of the townhome, that's as close as it can be to the edge of your property, right, in the front, right? That's the minimum, that's right. You build it further back, if you will, you could have, you know, you haven't said it could have a garage or it can't have a garage, or you might get into that. So that's where the structure would be built. That doesn't really have anything to do with parking, as what structure would be built.
Other discussion?
I still don't know how to get it. I mean, property, you're not gonna park on your own property,
Well, you would.
so,
So you're gonna park in that 25 feet.
okay, all right, fair enough.
Or there's rear.
Or if you're parking on the street, you're parking on the street. I don't know the design.
Or
of
if they're
it.
accessed by an alley, there would be rear parking.
Okay. So from whatever road that feeds to your property, 25 feet back from that area.
That's right.
Okay. How many F-150s is that? One point nine?
How many F-150s is that moving? Less than 1, 3 feet of creek path long. One creek path.
So the motion on the table is to change it to 20 per acre for townhomes in the gateway. 20 dwellings per acre for townhomes in the gateway zone. Any further discussion on that?
And is the open space is 20%?
Open spaces modified to 20%.
That's the only change?
Off of what is in the current from second reading. That is what the motion is on the table.
So I would motion to amend to make that 2 F-150s. Whatever that is, whatever your measurement this is, American, whatever you don't want, right?
34 feet.
So 40 feet, so then on the side wall,
34 feet.
34 feet? Okay.
Does it have a ditch? Does it have a ridge on the front? Not the pit bull.
All right,
So-
so 40 feet.
And a trailer.
So I have a motion to amend that the front setback, right, be 40 feet instead of 25 feet. Do I have a second on the amendment?
Second.
All right, so discussion on the amendment.
My purpose there would be, maybe not the front, because I didn't understand what she was talking about a second ago. You got 40 feet for where the parking is. Setback for where your parking area would be 40 feet. Is that what we're talking about? Is that,
If you're accessing it from the front.
Your accessing it from the back, the setback's at 15 feet. You can go up to 15 feet and your rear setback is at 15 feet, correct?
It's designed for like an alleyway. That's right.
so,
Give me an motion.
okay, so, all right, so the most effective way to accomplish what I'm hoping for, which is sufficient parking on your own property without blocking the sidewalk or road, would be to make it, you leave the front 25 or 15, except for but any setback for the parking area would be a minimum of 40. Could that be added?
So I have an amendment to the motion that any setback for parking be at 40 feet.
Right.
And not touching the original setbacks. We're just addressing wherever you decide to park is at 40 feet setback. Do I understand that motion correctly?
Yeah.
All right, so do I have a second on that amendment?
Can I ask a question before the second?
Before I have discussion, I should get a second.
I need a second.
All right, now, go for it, Ms. Humble.
Are you trying to apply that to all townhomes or just the gateway corridor?
We're talking about just the gateway corridor, right?
No, because the gate.
That's correct.
We're talking townhomes in the gateway corridor.
But the ordinance applies to townhomes in all of them. I was just trying to change to let them be more dense when they're in the gateway corridor. But if you're trying to change the driveways in all of them, then you need to do the one we voted on through second reading last time and not my amendment that's only to the gateway corridor.
All right, you're right.
Right.
So, okay, so just scratch everything else.
So Dr. Wilson withdraws his motion.
It's not a bad one, it just is not relevant
So, man.
apparently.
Oh, I got you.
So back to the original motion on hand, which is to add the capacity of 20 dwellings for townhomes in the gateway corridor and reducing from 40% to 20% in the gateway corridor. Any other discussion?
So you withdraw that information.
All right, hearing no other discussion, all those in favor, signify by raising your hand. Opposed? All right, Dr. Wilson, would you like to make a motion?
Man, I'm so freaking gunshot now.
It is 9:39.
So I'd like to make a motion that any setback applicable to parking be a minimum of 40 feet on all development, or on all homes, other than maybe multifamily.
Maybe.
Okay, scratch the maybe, other than multifamily, I'd like to have the setback be a minimum of 40 feet.
So I have a motion on the table to make the setback 40 feet for parking for everything but multifamily
What
homes.
about multi-use?
Do I have a second on the,
Yeah, that's what would be the, wait a minute, we have to, our second. Clarify that again.
Okay, second.
so I have a second, now go for it.
What do you mean multi-use? That would be commercial, right? Or
I feel like they were using that at some term. I don't know.
We're talking about,
I don't even know if we're allowing those. They're in the city. It's like apartments and retail together.
okay, but they have their own parking lot, right? So we have a parking lot.
Correct.
and it has no parking lot, that's right.
Other discussion.
What is the motion?
The motion is to increase, setback to 40 feet for parking and everything except multifamily in the county.
So they'll have a parking lot. That's the argument there.
So give me an example. So you're happy.
A townhome in the county, you'd be required to have 40 foot for parking.
What about
Anywhere in the county.
What about like a single home?
Yes.
So 40 feet?
That's what
So
it's
you're
saying.
saying the driveway needs to be 40 feet long?
Minimum.
He's saying a setback.
So setback from the front street to the front of the house.
I think the way he phrased it was the setback,
Front
from
setback.
where you're parking. So if you're parking in the back, parking in the front, in the front.
The argument this committee folks made was that if you go through some of these neighborhoods, people are parking 2 cars in a row, small cars, and a big portion of the cars sitting on the road. You know,
I agree. I see that all the time.
three pickup trucks might be a push, you know, particularly in a townhouse area where you're trying to aggregate folks. But 2 seems like a reasonable amount.
Okay, so if you have an open subdivision, right now the setback is 15 feet. We're changing that to 40.
For parking. That's the motion on the table.
Parking,
That's the motion on the
is
table.
your
Across the
driveway,
board,
is your
you're out,
driveway
DSO,
parking?
except for multi-use.
Is your driveway
That's the
parking?
motion.
Yeah, you park on the driveway.
Okay,
So
so.
this is a setback, it's not, it's the setback, it's
No,
defined
it's just-
where you're
it's
parking.
the 4 parking part that's road.
It's the minimum
So
setback.
the house could be 15 feet back.
If the parking's in the back. It's 40 feet for the
Has
parking.
this ever been done anywhere?
Yeah, these exist.
Okay.
Okay.
So give me an example,
Like
like a house.
you go to Patrick Square, the houses are just a sidewalk off the street, the garage is in the back.
Oh, I got you. Okay. And this is for everything? This includes what? All
The
residential?
motion was all residential.
Everything but multifamily.
Multi-use.
Yeah.
So it's legally gonna choose.
This is what you wanted to die on? Was-
Parking set.
So I'm gonna be realistic here, and I don't think this is realistic. I hear and I understand what the goal is. I've driven through these neighborhoods. The Mill Hills, we talk about neighborhoods of the day. Go drive through a Mill Hill, go through the alleyways, go through I had my very first ambulance wreck on 5th Street in Woodside. I hit a county police car with a county ambulance. Greenville, not Pickens. Because of people parked on the roadway, because there was nowhere to park. So I understand the problem. But I also think about the neighborhoods where there is a 25-foot setback, and you can probably get to Camry's nose to tail, but you can't get to F-150's nose to tail. And the reality of it is their garage starts at where the first Camry's nose is, so it's within that 40-foot setback. So I really don't think the 40-foot setback is realistic. I think a square footage for parking per size of decile, domicile, whatever, you know, the residence, it's been way longer today. Maybe something to look at, but I am hard pressed to say you gotta build 40 foot, because that's saying you have to have a 40-foot driveway, or access to a 40-foot driveway. And I just don't know, while I understand and get the vibe and feeling of it, when I look at our community, I don't feel like it matches our community, not where I live anyway. Now, you go to my grandparents' house up in Sunset, it's a quarter mile down the driveway. But they also share a driveway with 3 other homes. And I park in the neighbors, and the neighbor parks in my grandma's, you know, that's the way it works. So I am hard pressed to say 40% setback.
That's the method this way.
I honestly would just ask them for recommendation. And you know what you're trying to do. He doesn't know what the negative consequences are gonna be. I think it's great. Well, I love higher setbacks, but it's just, you just don't know. I mean, I would just ask them for a recommendation that just generally meets what you're looking for.
I'm just looking for the road, I mean, these guys get it pretty hard.
I get it. But I think when you have minimum half acre lots, you're gonna see things open up, too, naturally. Those setbacks, these setbacks are, nobody's gonna build a house 7 feet from the neighbor when it's half an acre. A lot of this will just go away on its own.
Even if the quarter of the acres are going, you will.
Yeah, but I mean, the space will open it up.
Wait, but is he making a motion, Mr. Chair?
No, I'm sorry.
I mean, let's back up, this is a townhouse, it's not a half acre for a townhouse. This is, I mean, a townhouse is going to be, congested because it's just 20% and we're putting 20 of them on there. If you don't require it, then they're going to park on the side.
This is for the townhome only. It's not all every. She's talking about neighborhoods and things like
I was
that.
trying to include like a minimum for duplexes and a minimum for, because you're building, I mean, duplex could be the same thing, big ditch in the middle of it, all so much space, so somebody's parking your sidewalk. I did say everything except for whatever it was would be accepted from the rule, but I would think that there needs to be some attention put to the parking areas, the setbacks. I mean, the thing about the Mill Hills is most of the driveways went right beside the house, so they weren't parking in front of it. But with a townhouse, you can't park in front of it. I'm open to certainly to suggestions on how to kind of clean that up.
I don't have anything else. Any other discussion?
His motion is townhomes,
So the motion is for all homes except for multi-use.
is that your motion? All houses?
So it is. So is your heartburn that in front of the house, 40 feet in front of the house is the issue? So it would be like, I'm asking Chris, I'm sorry. Yes. I said everything will multifamily because you've got 5 stories, nobody's parking all in front of the building, right? They're gonna have to have a parking lot. But is your heartburn because it's in front of the building? Is that the issue? So if they can go to the side, they can drive all the way around the house, right? I got you. So how do you fix that then, so it's only applicable?
I don't know.
All right, so
We'll go with it.
Setback's not the worst thing in the world.
Yes.
you guys can,
It's changeable in the future if it looks like it's today.
all right.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed? So a very serious question. I've asked Ms. Nations to look at the calendar and this, that, and the other. It's 9:35. I'm here to go as late as you guys want to.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, so is there discussion on adjourning?
Yes. My discussion is, can we pick back up? I am genuinely uncertain if I need to go point by point or if I can do this all together to allow for some changes in the gateway corridor. Can we just pick that back up quickly at some point?
Yes, ma'am. So what I've
Before we
asked the clerk is for us to get back together. And I would like to start fresh where we stopped.
Okay.
I think that would be wise because we're getting into. Unfortunately, I'm not available tomorrow at 8, but give me till 11 maybe. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor, signify by raising your hand. Thank you all.
Okay. So, you guys said that you took out the waiver for the traffic. Traffic, was in the waiver in some of the literature we got, county to waive the traffic. You said you took that out of the second reading?
People are gonna give y'all